You're standing in your kitchen, staring at a carton of milk. The date at the top indicates it expired yesterday. The milk smells fine. It looks perfectly normal, but you pour it down the drain anyway. That's what the date says to do, right? Here's the thing. That date you just obeyed, it probably had nothing to do with whether your milk was safe to drink. Most of us treat expiration dates like absolute deadlines, as if our food transforms from perfectly edible to dangerous the moment the clock strikes midnight. We throw away billions of pounds of food every year based on these dates. But what if I told you that most expiration dates aren't about safety at all, that they're not even regulated by the federal government, and that the food industry have reasons for printing dates that have nothing to do with keeping you safe? This is the story of how a simple date on a package became one of the most misunderstood pieces of information in your entire kitchen. Let's go back about 100 years. Your great-grandmother didn't have expiration dates. She squeezed the bread, smelled the meat, and looked at the color of the vegetables. She used her senses because that's all anyone had. Food came from nearby farms, and people knew how to tell when something had gone bad. But then, everything changed. The 20th century brought refrigerated trucks, interstate highways, and supermarkets. Suddenly, your apple might have traveled 1,500 miles. Food companies faced a new problem. How do you tell someone their bread is still fresh when it came from 1,000 miles away? The first expiration dates appeared in the 1970s, and they weren't created by food safety experts or government regulators. They were created by manufacturers trying to solve a business problem. But here's where it gets interesting. These dates were never really about when food becomes unsafe. They were about when food stops being at its absolute peak quality. Think about it from a company's perspective. If you're selling premium yogurt, you want customers to experience it at its best. So you print a date that ensures quality, not safety. You pick a conservative date that guarantees the product will still taste exactly as intended. And if that date causes people to throw away food that's still perfectly fine, well, that means they'll buy more. This is the part most people don't know. In the United States, except for infant formula, expiration dates on food are almost entirely unregulated. Companies can put whatever date they want. There's no federal requirement for most foods to even have a date. You've probably seen Best By, Use By, Sell By, and Best Before dates. They sound official, but here's what they actually mean. Best By and Best Before are purely about quality. They're the manufacturer saying this will taste great until this date. After that, it might lose a little flavor, but it's not dangerous. Sell-by dates aren't even meant for you. They're instructions for stores. And use-by? That's mostly a quality indicator, except for highly perishable items. The testing that determines these dates happens in laboratories under controlled conditions. But companies know that if food makes someone sick after the printed date, they could face lawsuits. So they built in a safety margin. They might know their product lasts 30 days, but they'll print a date for 21 days. Let's talk about what this actually means for your kitchen. Canned goods? They can last years past their printed date if the can isn't damaged. The canning process creates a sealed, sterile environment. Dry goods, like pasta, rice, and dried beans? Decades. They might lose some nutritional value, but they won't make you sick. Honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that's still edible. Yet you'll see expiration dates on honey. Hard cheeses can grow mold on the surface, but you can cut it off and the rest is fine. Chocolate might develop a white film, which looks concerning but is just sugar crystallizing, completely safe. Even eggs are far more resilient than their cartons suggest. A simple test: place an egg in water. If it sinks and lies flat, it's fresh. If it stands upright or floats, it's old. But even old eggs aren't necessarily dangerous. Here's where things get really interesting. We've created a system where perfectly good food gets thrown away based on arbitrary dates, while genuinely dangerous food gets ignored because it hasn't reached its date yet. A package of chicken could be contaminated on day 1, but if the date says it's good for another week, people assume it's safe. Your senses evolved over millions of years to detect spoiled food. If something smells off, looks wrong, or has an unusual texture, trust that instinct. But if milk smells fresh and tastes normal 3 days after the date is probably wrong, not your milk. There are exceptions, of course. Fresh meat and seafood are legitimately time-sensitive. Baby formula is the only product with federally regulated expiration dates because nutrient degradation matters critically for infants, and anything that looks or smells questionable should be thrown out regardless of the date. But for most of what's in your pantry, those dates are suggestions about quality, not warnings about danger. Americans throw away roughly 80 billion pounds of food every year, and confusion about expiration dates accounts for a significant portion of that waste. The next time you're about to toss something because of a date, pause for a moment. Look at it, smell it, think about how it's been stored. That date was printed by someone who's never seen your refrigerator and had motivations that weren't entirely about your safety. You've been trusting numbers on packages instead of trusting yourself. But now you know the truth. Those dates are guidelines, not rules. Your milk that expired yesterday might be perfectly fine today, and that's not reckless. That's just understanding what those dates actually mean.